I died, choking on my own blood in the back of that rusted Chevy. The taste of betrayal as metallic as the iron pooling in my lungs. My stepmom's voice echoed in my skull like a bad country song she'd never admit to loving. Emery, you're nothing but a disappointment. Your father would agree if he could see you now. But he couldn't, because she'd poisoned him against me long before the cancer took him. And now, as the world faded to black, I realized the truth. She'd forged the will, cut me out entirely, and staged my accident to seal the deal. Then, like a glitch in the matrix of some twisted Hollywood reboot, my eyes snapped open, not to the afterlife, but to the scratchy sheets of my old twin bed in the Brooklyn brownstone. 3 years earlier, the morning after Dad's 60th birthday bash. My heart hammered like I'd just run the marathon, but the calendar on the wall screamed 2022. And Dad's laugh boomed from downstairs, alive and oblivious. I'd been given a do-over, a shot at vengeance in this godforsaken second chance. And as I stared at my reflection, 25 again, unscarred and unbroken, I whispered to the ghost of myself. This time, Lorraine, you don't get to win. The smell of Dad's famous blueberry pancakes hit me like a freight train, pulling me down the creaky stairs of our family home in Park Slope. It was one of those crisp fall mornings where the leaves outside painted the street in reds and golds. The kind that made you forget New York could chew you up and spit you out. But I wouldn't forget. Not anymore. Dad was at the stove, his broad shoulders straining against a faded Mets jersey, flipping flapjacks with the enthusiasm of a man who'd just won the lottery, which, back then, he almost had, with that tech startup he'd bootstrapped in his garage. Emery, kiddo, get in here before your stepmom hogs them all. His voice was gravelly from years of chain-smoking Camels, but full of that unshakable warmth that had kept our little family afloat after Mom bailed when I was 10. Lorraine, God. Even thinking her name now made my stomach twist, sashayed in from the sunroom, her bleach-blonde bob swinging like a pendulum of deceit. She was all Botox and Lululemon, the trophy wife who'd latched onto Dad 5 years prior, whispering sweet nothings about family unity while plotting her empire. In my first life, she'd convinced him I was the black sheep, the screw-up who'd tanked his college fund on bad investments, lies. All of it, because she'd siphoned it off for her spa retreats in the Hamptons. Morning, Emery darling, she cooed, planting a kiss on Dad's cheek that lingered just a second too long. Her eyes flicked to me, cool and assessing, like she was already tallying how much of the estate I'd cost her. I forced a grin, the kind that didn't reach my eyes, and slid into my seat. Morning, Lorraine.
Dad.
Those smell killer. Pass the syrup? As I drowned the stack in Aunt Jemima's, my mind raced. I had months, maybe 6, if memory served, before the pancreatic cancer diagnosis blindsided him. In the original timeline, she'd used that vulnerability like a crowbar, isolating him in hospice, feeding him stories of my failures until he signed over everything to her charitable causes, which were really offshore accounts in the Caymans. I'd found out too late, after the funeral, when the lawyer's letter arrived like a gut punch, disowned, penniless, crashing on friends' couches until the accident on the BQE that she'd orchestrated with a tampered brake line.
But now?
Now I was armed with the future. I shoveled in a bite, savoring the normalcy like it was contraband. Hey.
Dad.
Remember that fishing trip we took upstate last summer? We should do it again soon. Before winter hits. He chuckled, wiping his hands on a dish towel. You read my mind, son. Lorraine, What do you say? A weekend away? Just us guys. Her smile faltered for a split second, a crack in the porcelain facade.
Oh,
Richard, you know I adore the outdoors. But I've got that gala for the animal shelter. I can't miss it. Think of the poor puppies. She reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine in a way that felt like spider legs. Besides, Emery's so busy with whatever it is he's doing these days. The dig landed soft, but I felt it. In this reset, I was still the aimless post-grad, bartending nights at a dive in Williamsburg while chasing freelance graphic design gigs that barely paid rent. She'd twisted that into ungrateful slacker in Dad's ear, planting seeds of doubt.
but I wouldn't let her water them this time.
Actually, Lorraine, I've got a lead on something big. Tech consulting ties right into Dad's startup. Figured we could collaborate. Dad's eyes lit up. That's my boy.
See?
Lorraine? Told you he'd land on his feet. She sipped her kale smoothie, her gaze sharpening over the rim. Wonderful news. Just don't overpromise.
Dear.
We wouldn't want any disappointments. The rest of the day blurred into the rhythm of a life I thought I'd lost, Dad buried in his home office, yelling at venture capitalists on Zoom, me sketching logos on my beat-up MacBook in the attic room that still smelled like teenage rebellion, posters of Nirvana and half-empty bottles of Jack. But underneath it all, a storm brewed. I needed proof, hard evidence of her machinations, before she could spin her web tighter. That night, as the house settled into quiet, I slipped into Dad's study. The safe was a relic, combination locked with our birthdays, his first, mine second.
Inside,
Amid stock certificates and old love letters from Mom, sat the original will, drafted 2 years back. It split everything 50-50, the brownstone, the startup shares worth millions by now, even the beat-up fishing boat on the Hudson. To Emery, my son, who carries my fire, it read in Dad's looping scrawl. But in my first go-round, she'd swapped it with a forgery, claiming he'd revised it on his deathbed, delirious from morphine. The lawyer, some sleazy firm in Midtown, had eaten it up until I confronted her, and she had me run off the road. I snapped photos on my phone, heart pounding like a bass drum. Then, deeper in the safe, a manila envelope caught my eye, sealed, addressed to Dad in elegant cursive. Lorraine's handwriting. Curiosity clawed at me. I shouldn't. But hell, this was war. Inside, bank statements, transfers totaling over $200,000 from Dad's accounts to hers. Labeled loans for family expansion. Expansion? We'd never talked kids. And there, buried in the fine print, a clinic receipt, fertility treatments, IVF consultations. She'd been trying to get pregnant, to bind herself tighter to the fortune. But why hide it?
Unless.
A creak on the stairs jolted me. I shoved it back, locked the safe, and melted into the shadows as Lorraine padded down the hall, robe cinched tight. She paused at the study door, listening, then whispered into her phone, "He's suspicious, but nothing I can't handle. Just stick to the plan." Who is she talking to? The words hung like smoke,
But I didn't dare follow.
Not yet. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon, and I'd run it slow, letting her paranoia eat her alive. Weeks bled into a tense domestic standoff. I played the dutiful son on steroids, helping Dad with the startup, crunching numbers that impressed his board, even charming Lorraine at dinner parties where she'd trot out her socialite friends like prized show dogs. Emery's turning things around, Dad would boast, clapping my shoulder, and I'd bask in it, knowing each praise was a thorn in her side. But crack showed. She'd started hovering, accidentally deleting my design files from the shared drive, or forgetting to include me in family emails about Dad's checkups. He was healthy then, but I knew the signs, the subtle fatigue after lunches, the way he'd rub his abdomen like it ached. Cancer didn't announce itself politely. One evening, after a particularly grueling pitch meeting where I'd saved Dad's ass with a killer slide deck, we celebrated at our favorite Italian joint in Carroll Gardens, red sauce slinging, Sinatra crooning from the speakers. Lorraine was late, as usual, claiming traffic from her yoga class. Dad and I were on our second glasses of Chianti when she breezed in, flushed and flustered, her phone buzzing incessantly. "Sorry, darlings." The instructor ran long. She slid into the booth, but her eyes darted to her screen. Dad chuckled. "No worries. Emery, here's the hero of the day. Closed that deal with Apex, could be 7 figures by Q4. Her fork paused midair, spearing a meatball like it had personally offended her. Impressive. Though I do worry about burnout. Richard. You two work so hard. Translation, he's a threat. I leaned back, swirling my wine. Burnout's for quitters. Lorraine. Speaking of, Dad mentioned you're spearheading that charity auction. Need any design help? I could mock up some invites pro bono. Of course. Her laugh tinkled like breaking glass. How thoughtful. But I've got it covered. Professionals. You know. The subtext screamed, "Stay in your lane, stepson." But I pressed, casual as a summer breeze. Fair enough. Just saw the budget. Looks like it's coming out of Dad's personal funds. Hope that's okay with him. Dad frowned, mid-bite. What budget? Lorraine. You didn't tell me.
Oh.
It's nothing major, she interjected, voice honeyed venom. Just seed money. I'll reimburse from the proceeds. But her foot tapped under the table. A Morse code of nerves. Later, as we walked home under the sodium glow of street lamps, Dad pulled me aside. Son, what's with you and Lorraine lately? Feels like oil and water. I hesitated, the envelope from the safe burning a hole in my memory. Tell him now, and risk her spinning it as paranoia? Or wait, gather more ammo? Just looking out for you.
Dad. She's
ambitious. That's all. He nodded, clapping my back. Appreciate it. But family's family, right? Give her a chance. If only he knew how she'd shatter that illusion. By December, the first snow dusted the rooftops like powdered sugar on a lie, and Dad's cough started, dry at first, dismissed as a cold. I pushed for a checkup, citing just to be safe, and he humored me with an appointment at Mount Sinai.
clean bill, they said.
Relief washed over me. But I knew better. The beast was burrowing. Meanwhile, Lorraine escalated. Anonymous texts began hitting my phone. Stay away from Richard's business, or you'll regret it. Blocked numbers. But I traced one through a shady app to a burner in Queens, her PI. No doubt. The same sleaze who'd investigated my drug habit in the old timeline. I saved screenshots. Built a file. Then came the break-in at my apartment. Drawers ransacked. Laptop missing a hard drive. Message received. I countered subtly. Started documenting everything, her loans, the fertility docs I'd photocopied in secret. Digging deeper online, I uncovered her past. Lorraine Hargrove, née Vasquez, a former cocktail waitress from Jersey who'd burned through 2 marriages before Dad. One ex-husband's obit mentioned suspicious circumstances, overdose, ruled accidental. Coincidence? My gut screamed no. New Year's Eve brought the first real fracture. We hosted the usual bash in the brownstone, Wall Street bros in slim suits, influencers snapping selfies by the tree. I cornered her in the kitchen amid the clink of champagne flutes. Nice party. Bet it cost a fortune. She arched a brow, pouring Veuve like it was antifreeze. Jealousy doesn't suit you.
Emery.
Go mingle. Cut the crap. I know about the transfers.
And the clinic.
Trying for a baby to lock in the inheritance. Her glass froze. Color drained from her cheeks, but she recovered with a smirk. Eavesdropping now? How pedestrian. Richard and I want a family. What's it to you? Everything. When it's built on his dime without his say-so. I stepped closer, voice low. Back off the money, Lorraine. Or I tell him myself, for a heartbeat. Fear flickered, raw, unmasked. Then it hardened into fury. You think you're clever? You're a nobody. Richard will see that soon enough. She shoved past me, rejoining the party with a laugh that echoed hollow. That night, as fireworks cracked over the East River, Dad pulled me onto the stoop for a father-son smoke, his habit, my rare indulgence. Emery, level with me. What's eating you? The truth clawed up my throat, but I swallowed it. Instead, just want more time with you, Dad. Before life gets complicated. He exhaled a plume into the night. Me too.
Kid.
Me too. Little did he know. Time was the one thing we were running out of. Spring thawed the sidewalks, but the chill in our home deepened. Dad's cough worsened, morphing into hacks that left him doubled over. The diagnosis came in April, like a thunderclap. Stage 3 pancreatic. Aggressive. Treatable, the oncologist lied through his teeth. But I saw the charts: chemo, radiation, a 6-month Hail Mary. Lorraine weaponized it masterfully. She became the sainted caregiver, spooning soup, scheduling appointments, all while sidelining me. Emery means well, Richard, but he's so emotional. Best if I handle this.
Dad.
Doped on pain meds, nodded along, his fire dimming. I fought back with facts, research trials at Sloan Kettering, pushed for second opinions, but she blocked me at every turn, claiming I stressed him out. Behind the scenes, I lawyered up quietly. Met with Marcus Hale, a shark from a firm in Tribeca, the same one who'd botched the will reading in my first life. Over black coffee in his corner office, I laid it out, the forgery suspicions, the financial trails, even the PI links. Hypothetical, I said, but his eyes gleamed. If this goes south, Emery, we bury her. He drafted contingencies, a countersuit for fraud, asset freezes. I paid in cash for my bartending tips, every dollar a brick in the wall. Then the secret unraveled. Rummaging through her vanity during one of her errands, I found it, a vial of clear liquid, unlabeled, tucked behind her Chanel. Lab-tested discreetly, same compound as the accidental meds that had accelerated Dad's decline in the old timeline. She'd been dosing him, hastening the end to cash in sooner. Rage boiled, but I pocketed a sample. Evidence gold. Confrontation came on a muggy June night. Dad asleep upstairs under morphine haze. She was in the living room, scrolling Zillow for luxury condos in Miami. Our future. Apparently. I dropped the vial on the coffee table. Care to explain? She didn't flinch, just set her phone down. Vitamin supplement. For stress. Bullshit. Toxicology says it's a beta blocker overdose waiting to happen. You're killing him, Lorraine. For what? A quicker payout. Her laugh was ice. Dramatic much? Richard's suffering. I'm easing it. And you? You're the one stirring trouble. Whispering doubts. If anyone's the poison, it's you. I leaned in, voice steel. I know about the will.
The forgery.
The ex-husband.
Step back.
Or I go public, cops, press, the works. For the first time, she cracked. Tears welled. Not of remorse, but calculation. You have no idea what I've sacrificed. Richard promised me everything, stability, a legacy. But you're the anchor dragging us down. Then, the bomb. Your mother didn't leave because she wanted to.
I made sure of that.
A little nudge. Some forged emails. And poof, gone. For us. For the family. The room spun. Mom's abandonment, my childhood scar, her doing? You bitch. Call me what you want. But cross me. And Daddy Dearest learns how you really blew that college fund. On coke and hookers. If my PI's report is any indication. Lies. All fabricated. But potent enough to sway a dying man. I stormed out. Fists clenched. The city lights blurring through hot tears. She'd played the long game. Architect of my shattered world.
But now,
with Dad slipping, the clock ticked louder. Revenge wasn't just payback, it was salvation. Summer sweltered, turning the brownstone into a pressure cooker. Dad's treatments ravaged him, hair gone, weight melting like wax. I moved back in full-time, sleeping on a cot by his bed, reading him Kerouac excerpts between nausea waves. Lorraine hovered like a vulture, her care laced with control, meds doled out in secret. Visitors screamed. But I caught her slipping extra doses when she thought I dozed. Whispers to her lawyer on burner phones. I built alliances. Dad's old partner, Uncle Vic, a grizzled VC with a soft spot for me, smelled the rot. Over beers at a rooftop in Dumbo. He spilled, she's been angling for board seats.
Emery.
Pushing you out of the startup. Richard's too weak to fight it. We strategized, proxy votes. Shareholder alerts. Meanwhile, Marcus Hale filed preliminary papers, guardianship petition, citing her financial irregularities. Subpoenas flew for her banks, her clinic. The pushback was vicious. My tires slashed outside the hospice. Accidental carbon monoxide scare in the garage. And the texts escalated. Back off. Or he's next. But fear fueled me. I installed cameras, nanny cams in the kitchen. Ring doorbells everywhere. Footage rolled in, her rifling Dad's safe at 3 a.m. Shredding docs. Jackpot. August brought the first real win. Dad rallied post-chemo, lucid enough for a family meeting. We gathered in his room, monitors beeping softly, the Hudson glittering beyond the window. Kids, he rasped, gripping our hands. I need to update the will. Make it airtight. Lorraine's mask slipped. Richard, darling, you're not thinking straight. Rest now.
No. His eyes.
cloudy but fierce, locked on me. Emery's earned his share. Blood, sweat, the startup's half his legacy. She pivoted, tears on cue. But our future? The baby we planned. Dad blinked.
Confused.
Baby, the fertility bomb detonated. I could have let it, but mercy's for suckers. Tell him.
Lorraine.
About the loans, the secret accounts. How you've been playing God with his life. Chaos erupted, shouts. Her denials. Dad's bewildered pleas. Nurses burst in. She fled to the hall, sobbing theatrically. Later, alone with him, I confessed fragments, the tampering suspicions, the evidence pile. She's poisoning you.
Dad.
I have proof. He wept then, silent and broken. My fault. Trusted too blind. The next day, he signed a codicil, witnessed by Vic and a notary, reaffirming the original will, adding clauses for audits. Lorraine was locked out of finances, pending investigation. Her empire crumbled brick by brick. Fall returned, leaves dying as Dad did. Hospice in the brownstone. Morphine drips a constant hum. Lorraine vanished, lawyer's orders. Restraining order pending fraud charges. Cops questioned her downtown. The vial tested positive for adulterated meds. Her PI flipped, testifying to the brake line sabotage plans for my future accident. The press sniffed blood. Tech mogul's wife and inheritance scandals splashed across the post. I was there at the end, holding his hand as the machines flatlined. Proud of you, son, he whispered. Last words of benediction. No regrets, just peace. The funeral was small, real friends, no vultures. The reading came 2 weeks later, in Marcus Hale's Midtown office. All glass walls and leather chairs. Lorraine arrived last, gaunt and defiant in a black sheath, flanked by her ambulance chaser attorney. The room tensed as we settled me. Vic, a couple cousins, her. Marcus cleared his throat, spectacles perched. Richard Caldwell's last will, dated 2020, with codicils through October. He read the bequests, charities, staff bonuses, then the meat, the estate to me,
Outright.
with trusts for contingencies. Lorraine's name? Nowhere. Gasps rippled. Her lawyer sputtered objections. She lunged forward, voice shrill. This is a forgery. Richard revoked it. On his deathbed. He told me. Marcus smiled. Thin and lethal. Funny you mention that. We have video from the notary, your husband, lucid, confirming every word. And these? He slid over the financials, the clinic receipts, the tampering reports. Fraud. Attempted murder. NYPD's waiting outside. Her face crumpled, rage to ruin in seconds. You bastard, she hissed at me. You ruined everything. I met her gaze. The weight of 2 lifetimes lifting.
No.
Lorraine. You did. As cuffs clicked on her wrists, I leaned in, whispering, smile for the cameras. You always loved the spotlight. She was hauled out, screaming obscenities that echoed down the hall. The cousins murmured shock. Vic clapped my shoulder. But as the doors swung shut, a twist uncoiled in my gut, not triumph, but hollow. In unraveling her, I'd unearthed Mom's truth. Lorraine's nudge had been a planted affair rumor. Anonymous letters that drove her away. Mom had loved us, fought to stay, but the lies won. Revenge tasted bittersweet, a cocktail of justice and ghosts. The brownstone was mine now, the startup thriving under my lead. But as I stood on the stoop that night, snow flurrying again, I dialed a number from memory, Mom's last known, a suburb in Ohio. Emery, her voice cracked, disbelieving.
Yeah, Mom.
It's me.
Can we talk?
Forgiveness? Maybe not. But a second chance for both of us. In the end, vengeance wasn't erasure, it was rebirth. And for the first time, I breathed free.